Okay, if you are catching us live, we didn't really announce this very much. We kind of just went, we just need to get on with it and do it. But if you are here live, I will be checking comments. So please say hello in the comments. I'll be checking comments. We've got some questions and so on. So hello and welcome. The Miracle Man has finally joined me. Took a little bit of coercing. So as many of you know, we shared kind of what was going on for us last year when Martin got diagnosed with prostate cancer, which ended up being metastatic, and, you know, everything that happened from there. And the approach we took, I was reasonably open with sharing what was going on and the approach and the attitude that we took with it all. And, you know, we had lots of beautiful, positive responses just on that. And then, of course, we had the amazing, miraculous results, hence Miracle Man, at the end. And I was really inundated with lots of wonderful celebrations and well wishes and all of that, but also loads and loads of questions. So what we've decided to do is finally jump on here and talk about it and answer all your questions. So I've sort of got a whole bunch of questions ready, but because there's so much to cover, what we're going to do today is kind of just give you a bit of an overview and talk more, you know, at a higher level. And then we'll come back in probably two weeks. In about 2 weeks. And we'll dive deeper into like all the mindset stuff, because we had some really amazing questions about mindset. And then we'll come back again and we will happily share Martin's treatment protocol, because we really mix the best of modern medicine with alternative nutritional therapies. And we think that's why we got such an amazing result. But we're not here to give you medical advice. We're just here to share our story, right? Mainly his story. I was there for the ride. So let me just quickly double check and see. Okay, cool. If you're joining us on YouTube, let me know. But if you're watching it afterwards, which a lot of people will be, give us a hashtag replay. We'll come back and we'll answer any questions you have from watching this when we come back again. Okay, so Miracle Man, also known as my husband, Martin. Do you want to just start by giving a little bit of a timeline? Because we just sat down and did that and we're like, Jesus, no wonder it was such a big year and just the big overview of kind of what happened last year. I'll let you do that.
Yeah, sure. Hello, everybody. In around about December 2020, I noticed that my peeing was a little bit slower. This gets a little bit personal, so if you don't like this is the time to hang up and go and do something else. But in December, a year and a half ago, I noticed I was peeing slowly, and also there was a lower volume of ejaculate. And those that started concerning me a little bit because of my age. I'm over 60. And so I went and saw a GP who referred me to a urologist who did a DRE, a digital rectal examination. And I was walking funny for the next few minutes after that. It is not something I'm used to. But to just give you an idea of that, he put a glove on, lubed up the area, put the finger in, and literally for 2, maybe 3 seconds, went in, felt, and immediately pulled it straight out and goes, oh, okay, there's something there. And I asked, is it a bad something, a serious something? And he goes, yes, it's a serious something. So you're going straight in to have a scan. So I think the next day I went in and had an MRI scan. The following week, Miriam came with me for the first time to receive the results. And the results were that the MRI showed there was something there. So we went for more CT scan and then a PET scan and ultimately a biopsy. And by now we've jumped forward to around about mid-May. So between January, when I first went to the doctor, it was now May that we got to do the biopsy. That's how long things take, like 2-3 weeks between each result. And then the biopsy showed that I had metastatic prostate cancer. It had moved to a place on my hip, a hip bone.
The PET scan showed that, actually.
The PET scan showed that. There you go. Thank you. And it also showed, the biopsy also showed it was a Gleason score 9 out of 10 in aggressiveness. So it was very aggressive prostate cancer I had. And they recommended I start chemo. So that's the whole story.
The end.
The end.
No, not quite the end. That was the beginning. And, then we had to talk about, okay, what are we going to do? Because, we're big believers in holistic wellness, and we look after ourselves. Martin's mostly plant-based and has been for a few years. And, I went through, a big stage in my life where I used to say, if I ever get cancer, I'm not doing chemo. I'll just go, the natural way. But when you're faced with it, it's a little bit of a different kind of situation. So do you want to talk about the approach we took?
Including nutritional.
So we basically married the best of both worlds, is the way I describe it.
A friend of Miriam's knows this compound pharmacist / naturopath with a brilliant reputation we've since found. And she said, you must go and see David. So we were booked in, took about 4 weeks before we could get in and see David, or about 3 weeks or something like that. And he looked at the results of my blood tests that had been done leading up to that. And he said, okay, we're going to put you on. Now, this is for me, so this is not medical advice, please. I know we're very clear on that.
And we'll get into it in more detail further on.
But he recommended I have vitamin C infusions every week, vitamin B. I had a shot of vitamin D that same day. And then zinc and magnesium and melatonin for sleep and the CBD and so on. And we followed all of that to the letter.
And I will add that because it took so long to get in to see him and then to see the integrative GP that we also worked with, by the time Martin really started all that alternative, nutritional protocol, I think we were on the 2nd of 6 cycles of chemo already, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And so by then I wasn't sleeping well. The chemo was starting to feel uncomfortable, especially chemo week. I had 6 rounds of chemotherapy, 3 weeks apart. So it was 18 weeks from the first one to the last one. But there was a 2-week gap. Like I'd go for 1 week on a Tuesday. That chemo week, what we call chemo week, was unpleasant. It was fairly yucky, but it was tolerable. I'm a mid-60s man. I can tolerate a little bit of pain, and it was just shit. And it also affected my sleep because I was having steroids the day before, the day off chemo. For the next 3 days or 4 days, I was also having steroids to help with all the stuff that happens in your stomach and all of that. The steroids keep you awake, and I was a poor enough sleeper to start with. So it was about two infusions, 2 chemo infusions before I got onto these nutritionals through the naturopath. And the moment I started that, my life changed. I started sleeping the best I've slept in 30 or 40 years, as long as, like my entire life, I can't remember sleeping that well. So it was like melatonin, and which we increased to 20 milligrams of melatonin tablets from initially 5, then 10, then 20, and I've been on 20 since. And then CBD with THC at night for sleep, and CBD without THC, although it's got less than 0.03% THC for the morning stuff. And that way I can take THC in the morning and still drive, for example, take CBD in the mornings. And at night, the CBD with THC helps me sleep. So, yeah.
So just being able to sleep is huge, right? In terms of the body being able to restore itself and being able to heal. And of course, Martin being able to tolerate chemo. So what we found is that by doing all the nutritional things, it really supported him in dealing with chemo. So, as soon as we knew he had to have chemo, I went and bought like plastic gloves and his own vomit bucket, because when you're on chemo, you're toxic and all your bodily fluids are toxic. And we never used that bucket or those gloves at all.
Not once.
Not once. And, he never had a day where he was just, sick in bed or laying on the couch, and he never vomited once. I think once he had the runs maybe. But, there was none of that, what you would expect from a chemotherapy patient. And, everyone tolerates it differently. But in our minds, there is no doubt that all the nutrition really massively helped him cope by helping him sleep, and also by just boosting his system and boosting his body. And, so that's all the physical stuff. And we should actually, you didn't finish the story, because we got up to, and then I had chemo, and also I had a lot of nutrition. So fast forward, so chemo was 6 cycles. So it was from, we wrote down our dates, 3rd of August to 16th of November was the last infusion. And like we said, he didn't start the nutritional stuff until basically the 2nd cycle. And then, we had the final PET scan, 13th of December. Sorry, we should have told you this earlier. But when we got like that PET scan was to see what the response was. And we were really hopeful, which to me, so just to make sure that you're up with us. So basically he had a really massive tumor in the prostate that the MRI showed had gone past the prostate and actually invaded a blood vessel. And then, the biopsy showed that it's a really aggressive kind of tumor, and like 9 out of 10, going from 7 to 8 doubles the aggressiveness, 8 to 9 doubles the aggressiveness. And then, of course, the PET scan showed that he also had some tumor in a lymph node and in the ilium, so in the bone, in the hip bone. And that's really bad news. And I made the mistake of Googling survival rates with metastatic prostate cancer. I don't recommend. He laughs.
I couldn't care less.
I cried.
And Miriam said, whatever you do, don't Google it.
No, don't Google it. And actually, this is important, right? At the time. So when I kind of announced it to everybody, because I thought, well, I'm not going to be able to keep this quiet and private. It's going to be a big deal and go on for a while. We decided that we would go into information lockdown. So when I let people know, like on my mailing list and in my community and so on, I said, listen, this is what's going on. Please send us your well wishes, but we're in information lockdown. We've got all the information we feel we need, and we don't want any cancer stories. We don't want any treatment protocols, please. Because honestly, that stuff drives you nuts.
Oh, it's overwhelming. There was just so much
overwhelming, yeah.
And a lot of it's negative. Everyone knows somebody who's died of cancer.
Everyone's got a horrible cancer story, and people project their own stuff, and it brings up their own pain. So it gets really emotional. But also, when you're being told all these different things to look at, it makes you doubt the things you've already chosen and committed to. So we kind of thought, well, we're reasonably well educated. We know what we believe in. We believe we're in good hands and that we've got a good approach. And that's it. We're going to just close the doors on that now. We're not going to then suddenly go, oh, and here's this other thing. And oh, there's that other thing, because it would have driven us nuts. So information lockdown, I think that's a really big lesson that I'm if people ask about this and they go, what are the biggest lessons, or what's the biggest advice you can give me? Do that. If you're going through something like this, make your decisions and then just ask people to respect them. And, like we said, just send us your love and well wishes, but please, no cancer stories.
Which so many of you did, and we were so grateful.
Beautiful.
I know Miriam was saying, oh, here's another message, here's another message, here's another message. All the time early on. It was very lovely. And it made us feel warm, and just shows there's a lot of love out there. It was nice.
There's a lot of love out there. So 13th of December, we got the results, or was the final scan. And like I said, I had Googled survival rates. I was kind of wondering what it'd be like to be a widow, possibly. he loves. And we're going to talk about this. And Martin's
black
attitude.
Black suits you.
Yeah, I look great in black. It's very slimming.
Yes.
So our sense of humor, especially his, because he's nuts, and his attitude, I think, was a major contributing factor, which is why we're going to come back and just talk about mindset next time. And, because Martin thinks that his attitude and his approach is just normal and average. And for him, it is for him. It's not for most people out there. So the attitude, the mindset was huge. So getting back to the final PET scan, I will get there eventually. So for me, a great result was going to look like the metastasis is gone in the ileum, in the bone, and maybe the lymph node, and the primary is shrunk. That's what I was hoping for. I was really, that's kind of that was my positive outcome that I was expecting, that I thought was reasonable and sensible. So I just didn't want to set myself up for major disappointment. And Martin kept saying, they're going to tell me it's all gone. And I'm thinking, the man's delusional. Quietly inside. He's delusional. But you can't say that to somebody who's going through this. So I was like, yeah, baby, wouldn't that be amazing? And you know what? Even if there's a little bit left, it'll be all right. We got it covered, so I'm kind of keeping up a brave face. And, but quietly I was thinking, I hope, he doesn't feel hugely disappointed if it's not all gone, because all gone, it was stage 4, right? And you kind of go, that's miraculous, like expecting a complete miracle. And I know that I teach this, but I'm very human and I was scared. So anyway, so the day before we got the results, Martin's sitting at dinner. We went for dinner and he's sitting there going, yep, and tomorrow they're going to tell me it's all gone. And that's what they told him.
And we rang up the following day, or the oncologist called me the next day and said,
complete response.
Great result. He says it's a little bit of a miracle, and he said it's complete response to treatment. And we've got a copy of the report. We sent us a copy of the report there, and it specifically says there's nothing on the lymph node, there's nothing left on the bone, there's nothing left on the prostate. So there is no further treatment that can be applied in this case. And I just said, thank you very much, Dr. Siang. Siang Tan, he's an oncologist. He's an amazing man, isn't he? He's the real miracle man. It's not me. He's the miracle man that made this happen. And the naturopath and the integrative doctor that we've also seen. But I'm just somebody just swallowed stuff and was injected with stuff. So these guys are the ones that created the miracle. But to me, it was just, okay, it's all gone. That's I just had chemo. It's supposed to kill it and get rid of it. And it did. Thank you very much. And that was that. So
yeah, so you can see what I'm up against, right?
We did cry a little bit of happiness. Our kids cried of happiness. And but to me, it was that's just what it is. It's very normal.
So Martin thinks it's just very normal. You get diagnosed with cancer, you get the treatment, which is pretty harrowing for most people.
And there were parts which were not good.
He graciously got through all of it. He's not a complainer at all, and had the most amazing attitude. Every time we go to the hospital, see the doctors, we were just laughing and cracking jokes, and they're all going, you've got a really amazing attitude. And and then an incredible result, which to me, chemo, amazing nutritional regime, helping the body heal itself, because the body fights cancer every single day. It's a natural process to me. And the mindset, just that expectation of it's all going to be fine. And like, we sort of might even wrap it up there in a minute, but I've got a couple of questions from people that we might just address before we go. But I did want to also say, oh, shivers, it's just gone in one side of my brain and then out the other. What was I going to say? So that hang on, I got to talk and then I'll come back. So that mindset turnaround and that attitude along the way. Oh, here we go. I'm back. I've got it. Sorry, I need to run the mouth and then the brain starts working. So shut up. Idiot.
It's my whole life.
Idiots. I've lost my train of thought again. No, I've got it. So what was really interesting was not just did Martin have this amazing expectation of, oh, they're going to tell me it's all gone, but at the same time, he had complete surrender to accept whatever was going to happen. And this to me was like, this is where I'm like, oh shit, baby, maybe you should be doing my job and teaching this stuff, because that's the magic, right? Allowing the magic to happen, fully expecting it, but at the same time being completely at peace with whatever happened. And, Martin would talk about that. Like, I would say, so what if they tell you it's spread even more, And what did you used to say?
But just whatever happens, happens. Like there's a saying that I heard in a podcast, Peter, what was his name, Peter? The quote that I mentioned.
That quote you mentioned.
Anyway, it'll come back to me. The man who used to say it, oh, this is just age. With chemo, and only 2 little serves of wine last night, should have been 3. Peter J. Daniels is a hugely successful real estate agent and a worldwide speaker and all this sort of stuff. And I heard a presentation he did once, and he said they discovered a enormous cancer in his brain, and so they said to him, so how are you going to handle this? And he goes, well, I've taught my kids how to live, now I'm going to teach them how to die. And he was making this presentation like years after he was discovered, so here he's still alive. They took this golf ball thing out of his brain. But and I've said the same thing to Miriam, like if they came back and said, listen, bad news, you're riddled with it and you're on your way. I said to Miriam, well, I've taught my kids how to live. Oh, getting emotional now. So now I'm going to teach them how to die, how to do it gracefully. And it didn't work out that way, but I was just prepared for whatever, whatever happened was going to happen. And we revisited our wills and made some, went out to dinner. What else are you going to do?
And we went hiking.
And we went hiking, for a week in Kaipo and walked everywhere. And the hardest thing was telling our kids, wasn't it, early on? That's what broke me.
Yeah, that was really, really hard. Yeah. And watching their reaction and their fear. So, yeah, well, look, we'd love to hear from you guys. I've been so nagging Martin to jump on and talk about this because I think it's important to get the conversation going. And, so we kind of just came on today to kind of give a bit of an overview, but we want to answer your questions, support you with what you're going through. And I just think that this man, as much as he annoys me a lot of the time, because he's my husband, sometimes, just occasionally he annoys me, I think he's he's just amazing, right? He's just amazing. And the way he's handled all of this, and the way he carried himself and the way he carried us. And, it wasn't a matter of, oh, we've got a tippy toe around the chemo patient, or he never felt sorry for himself. Life just pretty much went on as usual. We have all our kids around every Sunday night for dinner, and that became even more special. And, we first had to break the news to them. They all cried. And then we did our best to reassure them that we had it under control. We kind of shaved off some of the more ugly details just to protect them a little bit. But, just the way Martin has handled this, and the way he's conducted himself, and the way he's kept his attitude and his mindset in such a great place is really, I have so much respect for him. And I had lots of respect for him before. You're welcome. I've always had a lot of respect for him, which is why I married him. But he really blew me away, because if that had been me, everybody would have known about my discomfort. And it wasn't comfortable. You know, he suffered through chemo. He, he had lots of symptoms.
It's chemotherapy.
It's chemotherapy.
It's not the chemo week was just a bit unpleasant. Yeah. And twice over that 18 weeks, I cried. I hugged Miriam and said, "Oh, this is just so shit," and it was uncomfortable. And then I'd shut up. And in fact, some people talk a lot and complain legitimately and understandably. I go the other way. I don't talk, because if I open my mouth, if Miriam says, "How are you going?" I can only say, "I'm feeling like shit, my stomach, my whatever, my energy, my whole body felt toxic and stuff." So I just wouldn't talk, which is not to say I totally shut down, but I became more quiet than usual. I'm a private person anyway, but I just didn't talk. And I thought, well, that's the best thing to do. That's the most stoic thing to do, to just handle it. I'm a fully grown adult male. I can tolerate this. And I had so much support. Miriam was just amazing. Our kids were amazing.
You were amazing. And so I think there's a few things, that sort of key points. Oh my God, great. A few key points that I want to mention before we go today, and we'll be back and happy to go through questions. Fighting cancer. Do you want to talk about fighting cancer?
Oh, I thought we would leave that for another time, but
just
still, yeah.
touch on it. We'll talk about it more.
Yeah, I never used the term fighting cancer. To me, it was it was like someone said, "You've got a broken leg." And so I go, "Oh shit, okay, I got a broken leg. What's next? We're going to put a plaster cast on your leg. We're going to put some pins on your leg. It's going to hurt. You're going to be uncomfortable. You're going to have to take drugs, blah, blah, blah. But you got a broken leg. In 6 months, your leg's going to be fixed. The cast is going to be off, and you're going to." So I never fought cancer. I don't think it sounds like something you can't fight, a cancer. It's a fucking killer, that's what it is. And I never fought it. I just took tablets every day and thought, well, in 6 months, it'll be gone. It was never, my cancer is this. It was always the cancer. And it was like, I have a broken, the analogy I used all the time. I said, someone told me I got a broken leg. I'm going to have a pin, going to be painful, blah, blah, blah. 6 months, legs fixed again. And that's exactly what happened. So to me, I wasn't surprised at all at the result. And but I was prepared for whatever, if they gave me some bad news, I was going to go, okay, so what's next? What's the next thing? Which is bad luck.
Yep.
So we're all going to die. Bad news is, guys, we're all dying. So
yep. So
on that positive note.
So information lockdown, I think, was really awesome. Marrying the best of both worlds and appreciating both. It wasn't like, oh, I wish I didn't have to have chemo, or chemo's horrible. It was, thank goodness we have access to chemotherapy, and thank goodness we have access to all this amazing, heavy duty nutritional support stuff that can support my body to get through this. So the whole attitude was one of, being really grateful and really open and accepting the situation and just rolling with it, and not fighting cancer, and also going, and we're in information lockdown. Martin, when he says he doesn't talk, it's because he doesn't want to get on a negative roll. He can't stand hearing himself complaining, and also I think it's a natural protective mechanism within him, because he's learned not to go to those places where he's wound himself up into a really, full-on negative state, and drags everybody around him.
I just don't want to do that. That's the thing.
It's not productive.
If you feel shit all day, which some people do, sadly some people do, women, and with particularly, with menstrual issues and stuff like that, if I talked, all I was going to say was, I feel like shit, I'm sore, I'm tired, I'm this and that. So I thought, don't just go there. Once a day, maybe say, and a number of times I did. I'm not a saint, a number of times. So I would say during the day, oh, I feel like, my stomach or something. And then that was it. It was out of the way. Miriam knew I was uncomfortable.
There was no need to keep harping on about
amazingly protective and comforting. And so it was just, why continually say, oh, I feel crook, I feel crook, I feel crook. Everyone knows you're crook. So,
and you're just, building momentum on that energy and basically hypnotizing yourself into how unwell you are, rather than going, okay, I'm unwell. What can I do to help myself feel better? Or what am I feeling good about in my day? Let's go focus on that.
Yep.
So, even during chemo, we would still go on as many walks out in nature as we possibly could.
I was still running a business, and I had to stay busy, I had to stay alert.
So I'm just going to have a quick look. I think we've kind of, by default, answered some of the questions. We've got so many awesome questions. I'm not sure we've directly addressed any of them because we wanted to just kind of give the overview. And sorry if it was a little bit rambly. It was like, where do we begin?
Her fault.
It's my fault, yeah. And I think this is a good one that is on the list. Francesca emailed us and said, you talked about him treating it as normal, i.e. that as in the treatment was for the disease, not him. So, we talked about that already. You kept on keeping on. Were you active in creating a normal mindset for Martin? Was I active in creating a normal mindset for Martin? No, see, I actually think Martin's a bit strange in that he has this really amazing way of looking at things like that and saying, what I'm doing is not special. I'm just a normal guy.
It's not.
No, he doesn't think that his attitude or the way he approached this is anything special or unusual. It's just him, right? So it's like it's normal for him, and he still struggles to see how it might not be normal for other people. So I didn't really have to do anything, which is just as well. And just a couple of questions here. Claire asked, did you do anything different to choose a medical practitioner who supports what you're doing? Yeah, we were really lucky in that we had a great referral and recommendation to this. We started by seeing the compound pharmacist who's also a naturopath who works with a set of integrative GPs. And so between them, they were able to help supply and support us with everything from the intravenous vitamin C to the CBD, and we'll talk about those a little bit more. Then Claire had lots of questions. I've just highlighted a couple. What was the decision-making process about what to do for Martin's recovery? I think we answered that. Do you think there's anything else? Anything else you want to add to that about how we decided what to do for your recovery?
It was just mainly to continue the nutritional program we were on, that I'm on, and also making lots of plans all the time about next travel. As soon as I finished, I bought a motorbike and went for a ride for a week. And this is why I married this woman, because I was going to hire a motorbike. We'd booked to go to Tasmania. And
I like to just mime in the background.
And we had flights booked. Myself and a number of buddies, that we fly to Tasmania or ride to Tasmania and go right around the island and whatnot. But we'd booked flights, we'd booked motorbikes, and we were 2 weeks before leaving, which is about 2 weeks after I finished chemo. We decided we wouldn't go because if there was a lockdown over there or quarantine or something. So I said, okay, well, I'll hire a bike here, and we're all going to go riding up through the Adelaide Hills and around South Australia. And then my wife, this is the main reason I married her, said, don't hire one, buy one, and then sell it afterwards. Like at worst, you might lose $100. You might make a few $100, who knows? But so I did. I bought a motorbike and did this ride with the buddies. And that was the first kind of big thing I've done since chemo finished. So it was that sort of attitude. Okay, even during the chemo, we're going, okay, this finishes at a certain date. After that, we'll wait for results. And then after that, let's start doing stuff again, because we're still alive, we're still good, you know, hopefully we were going to be good. And I was. So it was a matter of positive mindset and also having these goals ahead of us, which is what Miriam, I'd give 100% of the credit for, because she's a real planner and a list maker and a goal setter, and whatever she tells you guys to do, she's a master practitioner, honestly. So we had that. So I had all, you know, we both had all that to look forward to.
Having things
and there's
to
still
look forward
big
to
plans that we have now, you know, so I had to get myself fixed up because we have big plans for travel and a whole bunch of stuff this year and for the next year or so.
And we love a road trip, but I hate driving long distances. So
and I love driving long
I
distances.
need him.
Yeah.
I need him. And I was like, if you die, I'm going to kill you.
In the coffin, knife.
You bastard.
Yeah.
Because my
Wake
road
up
trip
and
plans.
drive, you lazy.
All right. One last quick question that Claire had on her list, and that was there anything I disagreed with in Martin's approach and choices for his recovery? And luckily there wasn't. I think I agreed with absolutely everything. And, you know, like, it's really interesting because initially, before we were referred to the naturopath, we were even just saying, look, let's just go, you know, green, raw. I mean, he's already plant-based, and smash lots of nutrition like that we already have access to. We hadn't even planned to do these extra things, and it was just because it's a oh yeah, actually you can do that before we go. And it was only because, like, I really, like, my best friend went, no, I really think you should talk to this guy, that I was like, all right, I know, because we were already in information lockdown before that. And I thought, okay, we'll go see this guy, but the last thing I want is to be given, you know, like a shopping cart full of tablets and just for the sake of it. But it was just really great advice and really well targeted.
So switched on.
Yeah. So yeah, there was no disagreement, which is just as well, because we didn't need to have arguments amongst the stress of it all as well. And, you know, it was stressful, but at the same time, it wasn't. It was just something we had to get through, and we did. And now we're on the other side of it. So before we go, do you want to just give some of your best resources and things that really helped you, like these books?
Okay, so I'm an Audible fanatic. I read a lot of books on Audible when I drive, when I go hiking and all this sort of stuff. I love Audible. So one of the books I read after I got my chemo diagnosis was, I'm not sure if this is going to pick it up. This book,
Radical Remission.
Radical Remission. Look that up.
By Kelly Turner.
It's by Kelly Turner, PhD. Now, Kelly Turner, PhD, she's an American GP, a doctor. From memory, and I should remember this is how my mind works, I'm pretty sure she was diagnosed with cancer, started looking into it, discovered that there are thousands around the world of miraculous recoveries that were somewhat well documented, right? In other words, people have been to GPs, to doctors, had scans, people said you've got a tumor somewhere and you're dying, right? It's incurable, it's inoperable, all this sort of stuff. But here they are, in some cases, like 20 years later, telling her the story. And so she went around the world. She did her PhD based on this miraculous recoveries. So it's really well documented. Her manner, the way she reads the book is beautiful. But the guts of it is she discovered there were, I think, 7 key things that they all had in common. Things like plant-based food, things like relaxation, you know, meditation, yoga, whatever it might be, dealing with the past. You know, there were some key things. I won't go through them because I'll probably be making some of them up because I've forgotten exactly what they are. So I don't. But I strongly recommend you get this book. If you know somebody who is going through cancer at the moment, or chemo or whatever, this will kind of lift them. I levitated the moment I started reading it. The stories are really well documented. And anyway, so I strongly recommend that, because it helped my mindset. Didn't change it, but it just elevated my confidence that I'm going to be one of those people. And that's so when I got the result, it's all gone. I thought, yep, that's just how it is. I eat plant-based food, I relax, I have a beautiful life at home, I'm a happy person, we have kids, blah, blah, blah. You know, life throws shit at you every now and again. That's just life. But like it's going to be gone. And it was. So get that book.
Yeah, get that
gift
book.
it to someone. Make sure get them an Audible subscription so they can hear it, because I think hearing it made even more difference for me. It was even more you could get emotional about it. So it was a really, really strong, powerful thing. I love that book.
And Olivia Newton-John's books, I remember he was listening.
Yeah,
just
which I
one
read.
Or both?
No, one.
Just one.
I can't remember. It's in there as well.
So what we'll do is we'll grab the links and put them in the description of this video. For Radical Remission, I'll find the link for it on Audible and pop it down into the show notes below. And I'll find the other one. The
Olivia Newton-John's one is also similarly positive, a great story, and she goes into detail as well as to what her regimen is with CBD, and they produce their own and all the stuff she's gone through. And here she is. She's had, you know, repeat cancers, has come back I think 3 or 4 times now, and she's still doing fine. She just gets rid of it, and then it comes back. She goes, okay, get rid of it again. Comes back, I get rid of it again. She's amazing. Yeah. So it's another really good story. So yeah, we'll put that up. Cool.
All right. I think we better leave it there. Thank you for joining us today. We've meandered and kind of been a little bit all over the place, but I felt it was just important to get the ball rolling. And from here on, it's really up to you. Like, we're here to serve you, answer your questions, provide any support or insights that might be helpful. If you're not interested in hearing any more about it, that's fine.
See you later.
If you want to hear more, you have specific questions, you know, everything from like, how do you deal with it when you're not the one going through it, which we can talk about a bit more next time. But yeah, our plan is that we come back probably in a couple of weeks. So best thing to do is hit the subscribe link on my channel, because then the next time you jump on YouTube, it'll pop up in your feed. And yeah, probably in about 2 weeks' time, we'll come back and talk about probably more the mindset stuff and dive into that a little bit more. And then we talked about doing at least one more where we talk about, you know, a bit more of the specifics of the treatment protocol, because honestly, that's what most people wanted to hear about, but it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. So we're happy to share what Martin did, which obviously really helped him get an amazing result. And it's something that you can then talk to your healthcare professionals about. And, you know, maybe they'll give you slightly different guidance or tell you to throw it all out the window, but it's a conversation starter. So any questions you have for us, pop them in the comments. Thanks for joining us for this slightly meandering conversation. Hope it was helpful. Let us know.